Hello and welcome to another episode of Chasing Green Arrows. Today we'll be dissecting the North London derby. What a game. Surprising, I didn't expect it. 2-1 for Tottenham. We have a huge Arsenal fan in the studio today, Mr. Abrar Aziz, and we have Zoher. Abrar, first I want to get your thoughts on the game. You must be really disheartened. This was the Tottenham were there for the taking. They've been poor up until this game, but then Mourinho again, he does one over Arsenal.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, very, very disappointing. It took me a couple hours to kind of get over this one. I was crying to myself, unfortunately. But jokes aside, though, we dominated most of that game. We should have put this game to bed. We should have won it. It was very unfortunate. We had a few chances that we didn't finish. We were not clinical enough. We hit the post a couple of times. It was just unfortunate. I mean, I think that we should have won it, and defense. When we do the player ratings, I will dissect more into that. But I was very, very upset with the way the defense panned out today. But,
yeah, there's some shocking stuff there, especially from Kolasinac. But so we're going to you, Tottenham. Did you expect the win? We all know Mourinho likes to grind out games, especially the big games. But more of a draw would look like a possibility. A win is unexpected, isn't it?
I mean, to be honest, given the recent run of form, I had actually picked Arsenal to win today. But, Mourinho pulls off another one. He shows up for these sorts of games, I suppose. And honestly, I thought it was a poor game from both teams. I think a draw would have been merited. I'm going to disagree with Abrar over here about whether Arsenal dominated the game. But it really was coming down to just mistakes, individual mistakes from defenders, individual mistakes from players that led to goals being conceded. It was really just about that. There were a few errors that were capitalized upon, and then there were a lot of other chances that went begging for both teams. 2-1, comes across a little bit harsh to Arsenal. They kind of nicked it at the end. A draw would have been more reasonable, but it is what it is. It wasn't a great game, but it was still fun to watch as a neutral.
Yep, and AFTV is going to be lit tonight, so that'll be some good stuff to watch as well.
That's it. Get my dose of comedy for the week.
But yeah, let's crack into the ratings. So for Tottenham, so we'll go with you first. Hugo Lloris in goal. I mean, there's a good save against Aubameyang, but overall, what do you think about his performance?
I mean, I think Lloris was okay. I don't think that he was able to do anything for Laka's goal. Laka's goal was, pretty much fantastic. Nice to see him, get back to scoring form. So you can't really fault him for not being able to get to that one. He was, he was decent overall. Made a couple of good saves. Nothing, nothing too frightening. Lloris every now and then has the potential for making errors, and it wasn't the case today. Again, he didn't have that much to do. There were quite a few Arsenal shots, not so many on target. I'd give him about a 6.5.
All right, 6.5 for Aurier. For Lloris. Yeah, sorry about that, because I was just reading Aurier's name. But now moving on to Aurier. Oh my God, man, that guy was shocking today. It was him who caused that goal, gave Xhaka the ball, and Lacazette scored the screamer. What do you think about Aurier's performance?
Man, Aurier, when he first came to Tottenham, I was actually pretty excited for him. I thought that he was going to be solid. I really like the attacking side to his game, but just defensively, he's shocking, man. He's so error prone. His, footballing IQ sometimes leaves a lot to be desired. Today, you saw poor play to give the ball away, which led directly to Lacazette scoring. Got caught out of position a few times. He's got pace that allows him to recover, but at the same time, you want more from from your starting right back. I had him just based on the first half, I would have given him a 5. He kind of picked it up a little bit in the second half. So I put him at a 5.5 today.
5.5 for Aurier. Yeah, and Davinson Sanchez didn't really do anything wrong, but and they won the game at the end. But what did you think about him today?
Yeah, didn't do anything wrong. Solid performance. Did what he was asked, didn't really contribute anything outside of the defensive side of things, but, kept things well marshaled. Like I said, decent performance. I'd give him a 7.
7 for Sanchez.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. And Mr. Toby Alderweireld, he was, after, first he scored that goal, a magnificent header, and then he was pretty good at the back in the last few minutes, clearing the ball out, commanding that defense. But what did you think? People are saying that, age is getting to him, but today it was a decent performance by him, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, age is definitely something that's beginning to show with Alderweireld. He's slipped from his lofty standards of yesteryear. The partnership that him and Vertonghen had definitely was one of the best centre-back partnerships in recent years in the Premier League. And it's, it's a bit sad to see him slip because I really do like him. I do rate him. But it was a return to form today. Very strong performance. Great in the back line. Very good at marshalling things, making things things are organized and nothing slipping through. And, anytime a defender pops up with a goal, especially a towering header like that, it's always a thing of beauty. It's always a thing to be appreciated. Liked his game today. I'd give him an 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10 for the match winner. I think that sounds right. And let's move on to Ben Davies. He had the ball come off the crossbar. Decent game for him. What would you give him?
Yeah, I mean, Ben Davies was solid today. That shot was probably the highlight of his, contributions. I think it was the thing that stands out the most. But again, it's also about doing the little things right. He kept his flank locked down. It was solid. Couple of hairy moments, but overall not too bad. I'd give him a 7 out of 10.
7 out of 10.
Yeah.
Yep. And now moving on to the midfield, Moussa Sissoko. He had an opportunity, I think, early on here and there, but nothing. He didn't do much with the ball today. What do you think?
Man, for me, the problem with Moussa Sissoko is Moussa Sissoko brings a ton of energy to the field. He's always running. He's always getting into dangerous positions. Unfortunately, the problem with Moussa Sissoko, he's not able to do anything with it. His end product, more often than not, is lacking. And that's the problem, right? It's like, you provide a lot of energy, but the energy is kind of directionless, it's kind of aimless. You're not able to get anything out of it. More of the same from him today. It's kind of how he plays. He had a couple of opportunities in the box where he was threatening, but unfortunately wasn't able to capitalize or wasn't able to make something for another player. I'd give him about a 6.5.
6.5 for Sissoko.
Yeah.
Now moving on to the midfield Messi, Giovanni Lo Celso. What do you think about his performance today, and what would you give him?
So I like Lo Celso. I think he's solid. I think he would definitely benefit from being on a better team. That would definitely be something that he would allow him to shine more. But he's doing the best that he can. He's definitely being asked to fulfill a very specific role by Jose. His distribution is great. He does open up defenses, and he's an overall solid central midfielder. Liked his game today. Again, didn't do anything that was particularly noteworthy, but a lot of the little things were taken care of properly. I'd give him a 7 out of 10.
For Lo Celso, 7. Harry Winks.
Harry Winks was a little bit anonymous. I know he's their defensive shield, but I felt that Arsenal was able to definitely run through the midfield, break through the midfield nicely. And I think that with Winks being the deepest lying midfielder, I think it's kind of on him to make sure that doesn't happen, whether it's by his positioning to get in between passing lanes, whether it's through interceptions. I felt that was missing a little bit. And then, he picked up a yellow card as well. So I'd give him a 6.5.
All right, 6.5 for Winks. Moving on to Lucas Moura. He had a few decent runs here and there, but again, no goals to show for. Hasn't been as clinical as he was last year. What do you think about his performance today?
Yeah, absolutely. He hasn't been as clinical as he was last year, but I think that's the the Tottenham team overall. If you look at them across the board, whether it's Son, whether it's Kane, they're not scoring at the same rate that they were last year. Dele Alli has been anonymous. So I think, it's worth mentioning that, Lucas Moura isn't scoring at the same clip as he was last year, but that's pretty much the whole team. And in terms of Lucas Moura for especially in the first half, I think he was the brightest spot in terms of attacking terms for Tottenham. I think he slowed down a bit in the second half, but really like what he brings to the game in terms of running. He's always getting into the right positions. Would probably benefit from better service. He's not the best natural finisher in my opinion, so it really does need a little bit of setting up. But again, overall, he was one of the better players on the field today, especially for Tottenham. I'd give him a 7.5.
7.5 for Mora. Just before we move on to the strikers, I wanted to ask you, the midfield looks like they're lacking creativity. Would you boil that down to Jose's tactics or more of, because like you said, like let's also Mora, they've shown flashes like that they can produce, but there has been a lack of creativity, especially since the lockdown. And would you boil that down to the manager's tactics?
I think it's a combination of the two. So obviously there's manager's tactics. We all know that Mourinho isn't exactly the most adventurous manager, tends to be conservative, tends to be a little bit boring in terms of, how his teams play. But again, we don't know what tactical instructions he's sending these guys out with. The other thing that I'd like to point out, I think it's worth noting, is the team selection itself. When you have Harry Winks and Moussa Sissoko in your midfield alongside Giovanni Lo Celso, I think you'd benefit from another more attacking midfielder in there. Let's say you've got Harry Winks at the base of your midfield. If you're going to play Lo Celso, I think it'd be nice to have another attacking mid in there, such as a Dele Alli or a Christian Eriksen. I mean, Eriksen's moved on, but he would have fit well into that sort of thing where it's like, yeah, you know what, you have that creativity, that double fulcrum that's adding that spark. Right now with Moussa Sissoko, he's a good ball carrier, but doesn't really add much in terms of creativity. So I think it's a combination of the players that they have available, and as well as the tactics, the players that they have available, the players that are being chosen, and the tactics that are being employed. It's a big reason for that lack of creativity that we're seeing more and more of Spurs.
Mm-hmm. And moving on to the strikers, the Korean king, man, he's back at it, and what a time! I don't know, these players just somehow find it to score against Arsenal. He's been poor after the lockdown, but scores a goal, and that assist from the corner was beautiful as well. What did you think about Son today?
I really liked this game. I was a little bit, worried about him in the first half. Wasn't really being able to do that much. Making the right runs, getting into some decent positions, but there wasn't any end product. The goal that he scored was fantastic. Obviously, shocker of a pass from Kolasinac, completely left Luis stranded. But again, great work from Son to get wrong side of Luis, kind of turned him nicely with his movement. And just that extra little step to get past or, get the right angle on Martinez and the dink over it, that was delightful. Very composed, clinical finishing. And then the pass, the cross from the corner to set up Alderweireld was beautiful. Pinpoint accuracy. Definitely the best player for Tottenham today, best player on the pitch, I'd say. I'd give him an 8.5.
8.5 for Son. And lastly, Harry Kane. In the end there, he created some good chances, but Martinez blocked him off. But he was decent today. I mean, he'd be disappointed not to get a goal in his favorite game. But what did you think about him today?
Yeah, Harry was good today. No end product, unfortunately. A lot of effort. No lack of trying. That's what's nice about Harry Kane. He's always going to be putting in that effort. And he's been also on a bit of like a slow run of form. Hasn't been scoring that much. Again, is that down to the overall lack of creativity in the team, or is it down to the tactics that are being employed? But he was off his usual high standard today. Again, had some good opportunities, held the ball up well, created for others, which is nice to see. So he's not that one-dimensional striker where if he's not scoring, he's not giving you anything. But definitely a slower game by his standards. I had him at a 7 out of 10.
10, and he skinned Mustafi a couple of times towards the end.
That's it.
But if that went in, then we could probably give him a higher rating. But
Absolutely.
7 for Harry Kane. That sums up the Spurs ratings. Now moving on to the fun part of the episode, Arsenal's player ratings. Let's go with Don. Let's go with Martinez first.
Martinez was my player of the Arsenal team today. He had some some significantly important saves. The first half, the Kane where he tried to chip him off, he picked that up pretty well. That one from Davis, which was a long range effort, that was a very, very good save as well. Kept us in the game in the first half as well. And even in the second half, there were a couple of really good saves. So I think he was my player of the match. 8.5 for him.
Martinez 8.5. It could have been 3-4-1 after the second goal. So I think I agree with that as well. 8.5 for Martinez. A bit biased there, 8.5 despite losing, but I'll give you that. But
he couldn't have.
I don't know, but I agree with you because there were some crucial saves there. It could have been much more.
Saves,
it could have been much more.
If you want to change that to an 8 because I'm an Arsenal fan, you could.
No. It's your call. 8.5. I think that's fine. But moving on.
You don't think you could have done more for the Son goal?
Honestly, I honestly think that he tried to make himself as big as possible. He did get chipped over. Uh, he probably thought they would go side. He had to make a decision at the time, right? It was 1-on-1 almost, so he had to make a decision. He had to decide if he was going to get chipped or going to go past. He decided that maybe he's going to go past him, so he went on the other side and then he chipped him. So I guess it's very hard to blame a goalkeeper on that 1-on-1 situation because the striker has a lot more opportunities and he kind of sees what the goalkeeper is doing and then bases it off of that. So
That's true. It's the lesser of two evils almost.
yeah.
Yeah, and Mustafi, he was having a decent game until Kane started skinning him on that left flank. What did you think about his performance?
I don't know what decent game, man. I thought he had a shocker today. I don't know what.
Yeah, I mean, in the beginning, I thought he was okay.
Like first half, he was okay.
Yeah, first half, yeah.
And then he kind of just, I don't know what happened to him in the second half. He came out and
he started slipping and sliding, man, here and there.
I really don't know what happened. Like Kane got the better of him a few times, and that was like very, very shocking to see. Like I was starting to feel better about Mustafi as a player. I was even talking to I was talking to you. I was talking to some of the other people as well. He's a very good defender when you have a solid person next to him. He's a good second defender. Like if you have like a solid defender near him, he'll do a good job and he'll be coached well as well. But today, I don't know. He just it seemed like he was not ready for it, especially in the second half. I'm gonna be harsh and say 4.5 today.
4.5 for Mustafi.
And then his shocker of the second half. So
yeah, the second half was a shocker. Like yeah, and moving on to his partner in crime, Mr. David Luiz. I mean, he couldn't do much about that misplaced pass, but like still for the corner, at least he should have stood up there and like cleared that. Like
there were a couple of things that he. I mean, even it's the first. If you notice the first it was in the first minute of the game where he kind of had a misplaced pass as well. Like it just that moment I felt like, oh my God, this defense is gonna like cramp up today, and that's exactly what happened. I just don't know. He also, like Mustafi, wasn't in the game as much as I would like, and this is my big problem, right? When the defenders were put in under pressure today, after a few good games, they kind of completely crumpled, and that was the issue. So I think Arteta is going to have to look at that. And again, like I said, I'm going to be a little bit harsh on my defense today. I'm going to give him a 5.
A 5 for Luis. Moving on to Kolasinac had a shocker of a game, in my opinion. But yeah, what did you think about him? His mistake led to that Son goal as well. So, what do you think?
I'm just gonna say 4 and move on.
I gotta say, if I can jump in real quick, I don't mean to kick you when you're down, but really, honestly, I think Kolasinac is best played as a wing back. That's what really allows him to shine, because when he bombs
attacking
forward,
wise, yeah.
But as the left-sided center back, I don't know what Arteta was thinking, man. You guys really need a leader in your backline. You don't have one. You have a bunch of secondary defenders with no primary.
I agree with you completely. I think he's just a backup for Mari right now, and it's unfortunate that we don't have any left-footed players to kind of fill in, and he's kind of just filling in that position right now. I think that's something that I was telling Musti as well in our previous game as well. It's something that we're going to have to look into in the market. Definitely get a left-footed center back and hope for Mari to come back and have at least 1 or 2 options over there, because he's at best your backup to Tierney, and that's being fair to him. Like that's just being kind to him. I think he can be a wing back. He can be a decent player off the bench, but that's about it for him if he wants to continue in Arsenal. But yeah, like I said, just 4 and move on.
That's good.
4 for Kolasinac, and then Bellerin again. Like going forward, he looked good, but then he left that gap open behind him, and Tottenham capitalized on that. So your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think so. I think I think he was very, very good going forward. That's why I'm going to give him an extra point for that, because there were a couple of very good chances that he created. He was a bit found at the back, but I think Mustafi should have done better to support him and to kind of cover him. And because Mustafi had such a shocker of a game, it was hard. So I wouldn't. I mean, he was found wanting.
That makes a big difference, because like especially when the game was so tight, you need to be tighter at the back. I feel like I understand it was Mustafi's fault, but like you need some support there going, especially when the game is at a knife edge. You know what I mean?
Right. But I'm just going to give him an extra point because he was a decent attacking threat. So I'm going to give him a 6.
6 for Bellerin. Moving on to the midfield, Danny Ceballos.
Oh, you missed Tierney.
Oh, Tierney. I missed Tierney. Sorry. Yeah,
so,
Tierney.
Yeah. So Tierney, I think he had a decent game. Again, going forward, he was decent. I did think that he lost Alderweireld for the corner. I mean, he lost him, so Alderweireld was able to like get that free header per se. So that was a little bit of a defensive error for me. So basically, based off of that, I'm just going to give him a 6. I think he was okay going forward, and he was okay overall game. But I'm going to shave off a few points, a point, because I thought he left Alderweireld for that free header. So I'm just going to give him a 6 for that.
Fair enough. And then now moving on to the midfield, Dani Ceballos.
I think Ceballos, again, he had a pretty good game. I think he was trying to create as much as he could possibly create while helping out while kind of running the midfield as well. Pretty decent game. There was nothing really to fault. I don't think he lost the ball too many times. I think he had a pretty decent, solid game. I think 7.5 for him.
7.5 for Ceballos. And Xhaka?
Xhaka, again, I think nothing too much to fault.
He was involved in the goal as well for Lacazette, right?
Yeah, that too. And then he had a couple of good passes as well on the attacking half. I think he had a decent game. Nothing too much to fault for him, but maybe a couple of more. He could have just been a little bit more ruthless in his passing. I think, especially going forward, a couple of times where I saw like some runs and he didn't capitalize on it. But that's just me being really critical of him. But I think decent performance, 6.5. I think not a bad
6.5. Yeah. All right, and Nicolas Pepe. He got substituted as second. I have my thoughts about this guy, but yeah, you can go ahead.
I know your thoughts. I don't agree with them completely, but
I will say it after. But yeah, let me know. What do you think about him?
I mean, I think he had an okay game. Like, I mean, he was a little like a little bit slow off the pace initially. I think then he kind of grew into the game a little bit more. I think he had a couple of shots that were pretty good, and he that were close. Like he had a couple of shots. I think overall okay game. I think I'll give him a 6.
6 for Pepe. So what? Just to get you in here, for me, Pepe, it's not only his fault. Like it's the team as well. But I think he's been overrated this season. He hasn't done much. I think I expected more from Pepe. Is it like maybe like a Bruno type of impact, or maybe a bit less? But like I expected more. Like because he is talented.
He is talented, but again, you have to take into account that he had one great season before being signed, and before that he was talented. He was a prospect. There was potential, but the end product wasn't there. And it's really only been the season before this one where he started delivering that end product. And I think that he's come into a bit of a difficult situation where he's a new player. He's a young player. He's come into a team that's in transition, a team that needs work. And it's a similar situation to, let's say Pogba coming into United, where because of the state of the team overall, it puts a lot of pressure on a new player, especially an expensive player, someone that's been hyped up to, give the answers to a lot of the problems, a lot of the questions that the team is facing.
Yeah.
And it's just a lot of pressure. He gets put under a microscope and every fault gets amplified, whereas he just needs some time to develop his game, adapt to the Premier League, and really, he'd benefit from playing with better players. I think the jury's still out on him. I think it's a little bit too early to write him off because there are those flashes. So hopefully the next season he's able to develop and kick on from there, and Arsenal is able to provide him with the sort of environment where he is able to deliver on some of his potential. But I mean, if he's not able to adapt by the second season, then I think it might be time to start considering replacements.
Yeah, I think I agree with Zoe brought up very good points over there. Like, I mean, it was also the fact that I just want to add to that a little bit. He came into a system where Emery was kind of all over the place. He wasn't really the manager that a bunch of people thought he would be. Arteta coming in, he's trying to create a system. He's trying to do something right, and I do believe in him. I think he's a great prospect and he could turn things around. I think he just needs a little bit more time, and once that's given to him, I think he has definitely has more capabilities. And I think Pepe, he's shown some flashes. He's gonna. I think he's only gonna get better, and I'm very excited for him.
Yeah. So you went with a 6.6. A 6.
An okay game. He didn't have too much to do, but he could have done better in one or two of the chances that he had. But that's just again being a little critical. I think 6 is fine.
Yeah, and then now going to the forwards, Lacazette, brilliant goal. That was an outstanding goal. He created some chances as well in the second half. I think Aubameyang missed a couple of chances that Lacazette created. What did you think about Lacazette today?
I mean, Lacazette, what a world-class strike. I mean, that was just very heartening to see. I mean, I've never really written off Lacazette. I think he's a great player. There's a bunch of people out there that kind of want him out of Arsenal and stuff like
French Darren
that. But I
Bent.
just don't.
French Darren Bent. He's a.
I think that's just very, very, very unfair towards him. I think uh, he's pretty good. He just had a little bit of a longer period of where he was kind of out of form, but I think that goal will give him a world of confidence. I think it's going to help him grow into what we kind of see. I'm very happy for him. I think based off just that goal, I think 7.5 for him. I think
7.5
it's
for
staggering goal.
Yeah, the goal
He
deserved.
played well. He did a decent job up front. He created a couple of chances, so I'm very happy with his performance today.
Yeah, and then we'll end it with Mr. Obama Yang. He missed a few chances today, so I mean,
yeah, it's so hard because you expect Oba to finish those goals, right? There were a couple of very, very good shots that he had. One, he pulled out a decent save from Lloris, and he hit the crossbar once. It's just on any other day he would finish those, and that would be our game. But it was just a lack of clinical effort from him. Unfortunate, a little critical, but just because that would have been meant so much to finish those, and he wasn't able to, and that's what you expect from Aubameyang. I'm just going to be a little critical of it and give him a 6. I think that's just a little harsh though, because I love Aubameyang. You know my love for Aubameyang.
Yeah.
But I think he had to finish that, and he didn't. So that's based off of that, just a 6.
Yeah, I think that's the thing with Arsenal. Like, to be honest, even the Leicester game, they played some really good football, but either Aubameyang or Lacazette, they have an issue of finishing. They're not clinical enough. They can put games to bed really early. I think that's what they're missing. And yeah, defense is a clear problem. I think that's what we've taken out from this game as well.
Definitely, I think. I mean, the defense. I'm sure Arteta understands that. I'm sure he's going to start working on it. He's going to start thinking about it for sure. I think. If they're not going to shore up any of the attacking thing, I mean, continue to keep Ozil for next season and just go with that, and then just bring in 2 solid defenders. I don't know what Saliba is coming back, so that'll help. I'm sure Holding is there, that'll help again. But we need to look at that. If you're going to continue the 3-4-3, we need Mari to come back quickly, and we need another left central back for sure. And I think we need a backup for Tierney, which is probably not Kolasinac, because. And maybe I'm being very rude to him right now, but I cannot believe that pass. I mean, come on, man! Like professional level football, you're looking at Luis move right. You're not going to be such a sloppy pass. It's just I don't think it's just unacceptable at that stage. Like it's just very unfortunate. I think need 2 solid defenders to come in, kind of shore that up, and some kind of leaders. And I'm looking at Holding and Saliba to kind of fill that, and be more. I would love to see a partnership of Holding, Saliba, and Mari. I think these will be solid if we're going to continue with 3 at the back, but that's just 3 of them, right? We're going to need more defenders kind of backing them up, and I don't believe Luis and Mustafi are the answers. I think today it was maybe if you ask me after a couple of days after them having a good game, maybe, but I don't know. I just a lot of thinking needs to go in, and what Arteta comes up with, I will back it, but there's a lot of thinking that needs to happen for that defending. I think there's a lot left to be wanting.
Yeah,
I think one of the biggest things for me with Arsenal right now is that you mentioned the lack of leaders, and sure you have Holding coming in, you have Pablo Mari who's going to come back from injury. You mentioned another defender, I missed his name, but the idea is that you cannot have David Luiz and Mustafi as your senior center backs, because they're gonna be looked at as leaders, and I feel that they don't do enough on that front. I think that even if you have Holding come in, Mari come in, you still need to have an accomplished, composed center back in front of them, so that they can learn from him. Because if you're going to be playing them next to Luiz or next to Mustafi, there's always going to be errors, and a backline needs confidence to grow. They need clean sheets. They need that's communication, that solid communication that leads to cutting out chances, that organization that puts pressure on the opposition to really have to work overtime to create. And I think that right now Arsenal's defense gives away too much. So to put in your youth team players, to put in guys that have been coming up through the ranks, I think it's great. It's always a good idea. They're hungry, but you also need to set them up with the right environment in order to ensure that they succeed.
I agree with that. I just don't know who out there right now is available to be able to create that kind of a situation. But I mean, like for example, like a Van Dijk, there's no one of that level right now in the market.
Koulibaly.
What's up?
Koulibaly.
it's also like a lot of it will depend on the finances. I don't know how the finances are. There's especially after
but there's not much. You're right. There's not many options. Yeah.
There's not a lot of options, and especially after the COVID situation, like the financial aspect of the game will change significantly. So that will have to be kept into context. And I think Champions League is a gone. I mean, it's gone right now, and there's no way Arsenal coming into that. So there's no revenue from there, and we might not even make the Europa now, considering the way there's only 3 games left, and we're kind of in ninth position. So there's going to be a lot of revenue issues. So it's going to be hard to find like a. So I think we're going to have to make do with what we have. And Saliba is already a player that we have. Holding's already a player that we have. Mari's already a player that we have. So it's just we're going to have to deal with that. I think they will be better off than let's say Luis and Mustafi. But I think tactically, I think there's just going to be a lot of thinking and a lot of pondering to do, and a lot of work needs to be put in that defense to make sure that happens. So it's just now we're going to have to wait and see what happens in the window, and if any signings happen or whatever. But there's a lot of work that needs to be done. But I'm still positive Arteta is going to swing this around. I think he's going to make things happen. He just needs a little bit more time, I think.
And a lot of backing.
A lot of backing too, yeah, of course.
Yeah. I think we summed up most of it. Any last thoughts? You're good? Zoe, any last thoughts? Don? No, they had no thought. Can you sing with me? Oh, when the Spurs go marching in. Oh, when the Spurs go. It's always tough when you lose to your rivals. But I mean, thank you so much for joining me today. It was a really good show. I think we summed up.
I do want to make one small observation.
Yeah, for sure.
Bournemouth beat Leicester 4-1. That was the final score on that.
Yeah, so, and it was 1-0 at halftime, man. Everything changed in the second half.
Exactly, everything changed. So it's basically the perfect run of results for United to capitalize on tomorrow. If we beat Southampton, we end up third.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be very doable, and I'd be really happy if we're able to do it. That run to end up in third has been fantastic. My condolences and commiserations to Abrar. It must have been tough to watch the game today.
Yeah.
I know as a neutral, I was holding my head and I was like, man, this is enough to drive anyone insane. There's a lot of work that needs to be done, and the question is finances. So not making it to Europe, on one hand, it's good because it allows you to focus on the league. It allows you to focus on your domestic competitions, but at the same time, the revenue shortfall directly impacts your ability to bring in good players. I think. Abrar made a good point, and another friend of mine made a good point that it's worthwhile to consider, like, hey, do we just write off a season and go into full rebuild, get young players, let them grow together, let them figure things out, and not to worry too much about the results, so long as they're not getting relegated. Take the time, take a season to really, rebuild the team's core identity and then progress from there, kick on from there. But it's a very tough choice to make, especially in today's football where everything is so rapid fire, so everything is so, the time frame is so condensed that it's difficult to take a whole season off and just be like, this season is for us to rebuild. But unfortunately, I find that if you don't take that time, then you just end up in this sort of, up and down yo-yo cycle where, one season you're all right, the next season you're terrible, and you never really fully improve, and you never really address the deep lying issues in your team.
Yeah, and I just round off. I think that no European football will help Arsenal. We've seen Chelsea and Leicester reap the rewards when they weren't playing Champions League or European League. They won the league the next season with no European competition. So I think that will help Arsenal. But let's see. We'll have to wait till next season for that. But I think that's about it for today's episode. Thank you so much for joining me, guys. Have a good night and see you very soon.
Yep.
Cheers, man. Have a good one.